if somebody hurts you in the ring, when you go to the back, that's the first thing you're going to hear, or you're going to get the Iggy in the ring, like knock it off, or you're going to get a receipt. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised somebody didn't just beat the shit out of them.
But how about going from somebody that everyone likes to somebody that people don't really like right now?
Well, okay. So you're talking about Goldberg.
Goldberg.
So we started a little bit on the WCW, who killed WCW, and we did a whole show about the first episode, and you kind of tapped out, and I get it. It's fine. I started watching episode 2, and it was basically Goldberg versus the WCW locker room is the take that I got watching it. And pretty much it was just the boys saying, here was a guy who just came in, didn't pay his dues, didn't give a shit if he hurt people or not, and thought it was real, and was acting like he was on the football field when he was doing like his spears and his jackhammer and all this stuff. He was legit hurting people. And they were kind of saying that he did not get the business. And, being pushed to the moon so early on and not paying a single due, a lot of the guys had a bad taste in their mouth about him. And they interviewed several of the boys, and then they interviewed Goldberg, who basically says, I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. And was very proud of himself and what he accomplished in the business. So were you a fan of Goldberg?
Not really.
Okay.
No, not my style. No, I was in Madison Square Garden at Monday Night Raw, the night Goldberg debuted on Nitro. And we actually had Nitro on in the skybox at Madison Square Garden. And we were watching it saying, who is this Steve Austin ripoff? Because of the black trunks and the shaved head and the goatee. And we go, this guy is a Steve Austin ripoff.
So, excuse me 1 second. That came from Kevin Sullivan.
Oh, he said that?
Yeah, he said that. He said, I think it was, who was it? Was it Tyson? He was looking at a boxer. And I don't know if it was Tyson. I can't remember in the interview, but he says black trunks, black boots. He says that's what I wanted for Goldberg, to just be a normal guy.
Yeah. And we watched it and said, this is Austin on WCW. But we watched the match. We're like, wow, he killed the guy. And I just never got into it. It wasn't the kind of guy I liked. So, I mean, obviously I was an NWO fan in WCW. So he wasn't going to be a guy I got behind, but never got into Goldberg. Just was, even in WWE, just never my cup of tea.
Okay. Well, it wasn't the locker room's cup of tea either, because they all kind of shit on him. So
the NWO did not like Goldberg.
I guess not, but they were.
But you know what? But hang on, I'm sorry to interrupt. But Hall and Nash talked about in shoot interviews in the past, they tried with Goldberg. They tried in the beginning to help the guy out. Like Scott Hall said, he tried to take him on the road with him and introduce him to certain people. Yeah, and try to get him, maybe to go to their side a little bit. But Goldberg just was a loner and just didn't want anything to do with it and did his own thing. But got people in his head that I guess fed the beast, and that was the Goldberg beast. And that's where he just went on his own path and was like, I'm the man, give me the money, and I don't want anything to do with anybody.
But you would think him starting at the power plant, right, and kind of training there a little bit, not much, but just enough to learn his 2 or 3 moves, right? You would think someone would smarten him up and say, listen, this is a work. We're not here to hurt people. The boys were legit saying he was hurting people. And like Nash was one of them. And he's like, come on, man. Did he not get the memo? Like, this isn't real. This isn't football. You're not legitimately tackling people, So I don't know. Like, I've always been taught you protect the person that you're working with.
Yeah. Well, those guys at the power plant, were out for blood. So I'm not surprised that
I don't get it.
They didn't tighten him up because, you had Mr. Wonderful down there. You had the Sarge, Buddy Lee Parker, who was Goldberg's main trainer down there. And what's his name? Jody Hamilton was down there as well. these guys, what do they care about? Anything but stiff. So the power plant was known for running guys off, but the power plant was known for running guys off because they were way too hard on the training aspect. So Goldberg, maybe he was taught, okay, be stiff, and we're fine with that. So when he got up there, he just ran over people. Yeah, I mean, that was the whole thing. Did they talk about William Regal on there with him?
I don't think I heard that. It could have, but I didn't. I don't recall that. I just know if somebody hurts you in the ring, when you go to the back, that's the first thing you're going to hear, or you're going to get the Iggy in the ring, like knock it off, or you're going to get a receipt. You know what I mean? And I'm surprised somebody didn't just beat the shit out of him.
It was William Regal.
Okay, well, they didn't talk about that fight.
Yeah. And then it basically got him fired.
Got
Regal fired because they thought that it was making him look bad when he's supposed to just run him over. And Regal was like, screw that, I'm fighting back. No way. It'd run over me.
Oh, so he did it as a shoot in the ring, is what you're saying.
Me, yeah. I'm gonna go back at you. And he didn't know what to do. So Regal just went back at him.
See, it's just, I don't know. I feel like people like that have no place in the business. Despite what you're taught, if somebody tells you lighten up, you're not there to hurt somebody. You're there to make each other look good and to make money. And if I'm jobbing to him, okay, I'll take your 3 moves, but you don't have to kill me to make it look good. If I'm a good worker and I can sell for you, why do you have to hurt me?
Right.
So in that aspect, I don't have that much respect for him if he was told not to do it but kept doing it. Like, who does that?
Yeah, I know Shane worked Goldberg a handful of times on a couple of shows, and I don't think he really had that hard of a time with him, but I don't think it was easy either. But they had a couple of TV matches from what I remember. But the big one with Goldberg is Bret Hart, and I'll bring up the quote. Bret Hart obviously ended Bret Hart's career with the kick at, I think it was a Starrcade show. They had a feud that the two of them should never have been in the ring together. It's clashing styles. It just, to me, it's not a match that I would want to go out of my way to see. A brawler like Goldberg and a technical wrestler like Bret. But Goldberg had the platform to finally respond, and this was his quote, if you want to read it.
The Bret Hart thing saddens me as a human being. First and foremost, I would never wish ill will upon any opponent or anyone like that. To have an accident like that happen and end someone's career, especially someone who's one of the best there ever was, 100%. It sucks. I'm not asking anyone to understand it. I'm just saying, just leave me alone, dude. It is what it is. Come on, man. I love you, Bret. Don't be such a prick. That's all. Grow up. Wow.
Because Bret kills him every interview. He just kills him.
Did he have to do those last 2 lines?
Don't be such a prick. Well, I mean, as much as I love Bret Hart, I will side with Bret Hart every day of the week. Bret kills him every chance he gets. He calls him an idiot, says he sucks, says he was the worst wrestler of all time.
Unsafe in the ring.
Yeah, says he was unsafe. I mean, Bret kills him every chance he gets. So this was Goldberg's response, and he just went to calling him a prick. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, that's his prerogative. Wow.
I don't know. It's hard when you have everybody shooting against you. Now, some could say, oh, the locker room was jealous because he was being pushed to the moon and they weren't. But, what they're saying is true. If people are coming back hurt and you can't separate real life from fantasy, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to get in the ring with someone who's legitimately going to hurt me. I don't want to work with someone like that. And that's not being a pussy. That is just, looking out for your own well-being. Because you and I both know that when you enter that ring, anything could happen. People's careers have ended. People have died in the ring for stupid accidents and, things that have gone wrong, and people are paralyzed, and, somebody working carelessly and just beating people up just for the hell of it. Not cool. That's just my take. I protect each other.
Yeah, again, it's just what never a Goldberg fan, so just
Yeah, I
none of
get
his
it.
stuff just never interested me. You know, the one when he beat Hogan and Scott Hall in the one night to win the title, everybody knew he was going to win the belt. I did watch that show, and it had interest, but I was rooting for Scott Hall and
Of
Hulk
course you
Hogan
are. Yeah.
because I wanted those guys. I just did not want to see him as the champ.
He just came off as a little arrogant. Like, you don't like it, screw you. I don't care. He didn't care. I don't know. It's not his fault he was pushed to the moon. He
Right.
looked like $1 million, you know, and he was over. You can't take that away from him. The part that I don't like is, you know, when people are saying he was legitimately hurting people in the ring. I don't respect that. And they let him continue to do that week after week, you know?
Yeah, Bobby Heenan says in one of his old Shooter interviews that was the reason he said WCW died, is because whoever decided to beat Bill Goldberg was the worst decision they could have made. Because one reason, and this is, I think this is very interesting, Goldberg's Jewish, and Jewish entertainers are a very rare thing to come by. And who could be more marketable than a Jewish guy like Goldberg? And I think he's right, but throw him into the argument of who killed WCW. And I have to piggyback off that and say, who cares?
You don't care.
Who cares? I love Bobby Heenan. That interview was 22 years old.
Wow.
I'm so done with WCW.
Okay.
It's not even funny.
Hey there, it is the Queen of Extreme, Francine from ECW. Do you want to see more of me? Click over here to watch another video, or click over here to listen to my podcast. And as always, thank you for your support.